So far we learned about initialize variable, and we created two variables, one of type integer, the other one was type string. Now let's take it to the next level, and what are all these actions that we can use for different variables? To start with, we go through set variable. Set replaces the value in a variable regardless of its original content. So let's see how it does. This is the float that we just created, and when we run it, in the beginning, it creates a variable called my age, and it puts the value 47 inside it. Now, here, if I just add another action, variables, click, and I want to use set variable. This set variable, let me just change the name so it is more maintainable. Set my age, and the name is going to be my age variable that we just created here, and the value that I want to put there, regardless of what it was, I can set it to, for example, 74, and save it. Now inside compose, if I just take this one out and I want to check the age, my age, and I save it, let's run it and see what we get. I'll perform the action, run, flow, done. And now inside compose, I get 74. So regardless of what was in my age in the beginning, which was 47, now we have 74 in the age. Same goes on with the other one. So for the initialize variable, if you want to just change the client name from Ali Raza to, for example, James, we can use another set variable here or here, it doesn't really matter. And we can set that variable to the new value. String and number doesn't really make a difference. They both work exactly the same way. After understanding set, we get into something more interesting. This one works only with numeric variables like integer and float. So let me go back here, and remember we set the age to something different and we turn the age to 74. If I want to add something to the existing age, for example, I would say 4 years from now, this person will be, I click on the add an action. Again, I go to variable, and this time I say increment variable. I can use the increment variable, and this time when I click on this drop down, you see it only shows me my age. It doesn't show me the client name because client name is not numeric value. Perfect. So I pick my age, and the value that I want to add is 4. So it gets the original value, whatever that was inside it, and adds 4 to it and keeps the result inside my age. So in the set my age, when we set the variable to 74, now increment variable is going to add 4 to it, and in the compose line, this one should read 78. Let's give it a shot. Of course, before I go there, I'd rather, again, let's keep it as a good practice, and instead of increment variable, I would say increment my age. Save, and I can test it again. Run flow, done, and there we go. So I get 78. Fantastic. So in addition of increment, I can have decrement, which I think it's quite useless because I can always use the increment and I use a negative value. Regardless, it's there just in case your algebra is not good enough to understand plus minus means basically minus. Now let's get into something more interesting, which is append. Append actually adds something else to the end of either an array or a string. We haven't covered array yet, and I will get into it in my next lecture. But string, this is the cool one, because finally you have the answer to how to package all the list of products in one email, then sending one email for every single product. So first of all, let's go to our flow and test the append string here. So let me click on edit. This one, let them be, I don't mind it. But here, if I say add an action, I can say append to string variable. I'm not dealing with array yet. So I pick it up and I call it append last name. The variable that I want to use is going to be this time client name. You see, this time it doesn't pick the age because, again, we are dealing with string. Client name, perfect. And the value that I want to add is going to be space Aliabadi. So this time it gets whatever that it was in that variable and adds or appends this string to the end of it. Good. Let's save it. And of course, I want to check the value inside compose. So this time, instead of my age, I put client name. Save. And let's test it this time. Test, run flow, done. And in the compose this time, I have my first name and last name. Great. Now, are you ready to go back to our previous example? So let me click on my flows and I click on get items from SharePoint, which was the one that I created before. And this one sends one email per item. Let me go to edit, see if you can remember what we were doing there. So manually trigger a flow. We push a button. When we click on get items, it gets all the items from the products list. And if I expand on show advanced, if you remember, we were ordering it by unit price, descending from the most expensive to the cheapest. And then in this apply to each, we were sending one email per item. Good. Now we want to package everything in one email. And the way that it works, I can introduce another variable right in the beginning. Variable. And this variable, I want to use initialize variable. I give it a name as product list. I'd rather use one single word, no space. Type is going to be string. And the value is going to be product list. And I add a new line right after it, so everything else will be added under this. Now I can go back to apply to each. So you cannot just drag and drop this email, because if you try to drag and drop it out of the apply to each, this one complains. I say, hold on a second. This one, this send an email, has some elements that are required to be inside apply to each, because these are values from the array. So it doesn't let you do that. To be able to drag and drop it out of this loop, so it will send the email only once, I can expand it. And I need to remove everything from this email, because all these items are array elements. When this is done, now I can put something like AA, for example, any dummy thing that is inside it, and just drag and drop it and put it out of the apply to each loop. Now, after we put the email outside, it sends us only one email. The only thing that we need to do on every apply to each iteration, we need to append the item to the variable that we created here, and it's called products list. So let's add an action here, and I would say append string. And if I scroll down, I will find it right on the top of the list. First, we'll rename the action. I say rename. I call it append product to list. the product list is the variable that we have, and this is where we want to append. So for every single iteration, we get the product title, space, hyphen, space, and I'm looking for category. Just make sure you get the category value. And then we are looking for unit price, which comes in the end. Right after that, just don't forget to press enter, so the next product on the next iteration of the same loop is added to the new line. So one line for every product. Write down, add the product details, new line, and add another product. And after everything is complete, inside the email, all I need to do is just adding the variable, which is product list, which now contains all the products that this loop returns. Great. Let me just change the subject, products in one email. Let me just save it. Time to test, and then run flow. Done. I already hear the ding, so let's go back to the mailbox, products in one email, and you see the product looks like this. And here is the thing. The reason that the new line is not applied here is that this is an HTML email, and the new line does not apply to the HTML code. So if you really want to get it properly, we got to go back to the flow again, and under initialize variable, we replace this new line by br/, and we do the same thing for the other ones. So basically, when we come here, instead of new line, I put the HTML new line, which is br/. So let me just save it now, and we test it again. Test, and run flow. Done. Now let's go back to my mailbox, and this time you will see something that looks much better. Now that we are done with the string variables, it's time to get into array variables, which is a little bit of more complexity. Are you ready for that?